We here?
Nice.
I think we're live now. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we're live. Welcome, if you're watching this, to the D-League Digest draft. I'm your host, Adam Johnson of DLeagueDigest.com, and joining me is the best investor in the D-League by far, bias aside, Kevin Danna. Kevin,
What's going
how you
on?
doing today, man?
Doing
What's going
fantastic.
on at
Watching the Raiders lose 10-0. Hopefully that changes, but ready for some D-League draft action, baby. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. The D-League season is finally here. How exciting is that? We've been waiting for this for months, and it's right on our doorstep. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's a much shorter season than the NBA. So yeah, there's all when you work in the D-League, there's always a lot of anticipation for that second Friday in November, as it has been the last 3 seasons now. So yeah, I'm ready to roll, baby. I'm excited about this draft.
And the draft is just about to get underway at 11 o'clock Pacific time here on the West Coast. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, Anthony Brown, clearly consensus number one. Chris Reichert of the step back, kind of reported that he's going to go first to the Erie Bayhawks, which, I mean, is a choice there when you think about it.
Yeah.
But after that, it's wide open, right? I mean, not so much wide open, but I mean, it's kind of more of a crapshoot than other years.
Yeah, and I know there's been a lot of talk about, oh, well, this draft is, not that good. It sucks, blah, blah, blah. I see a lot of names of guys that I think are going to contribute. And when you think about it, I mean, you're really only the first, 2-3 rounds of the draft or where the action's really at anyways. And sometimes you'll find some late round gems for sure. But I think there's some intriguing names in here, and they'll definitely pop up, and I'll give my shout outs when I see them get drafted.
I think I'm certainly culpable to some of that discussion, as it's been reported to me. D-League Digest, this draft doesn't have the talent. And I think, to clarify, there's not the elite level talent. There's the comparable depth you see to the D-League caliber player, and you got to think about what you're expecting at this level. So is it, rotation players? You're looking at more rotation guys at this point. Guys maybe give you 15, 20 minutes off the bench, because you've got your affiliate players, you've got your returning players, tryout players, in fact, and then this is kind of the last leg of the training camp roster. So it's about what you need and what your expectations are for a player. So remains to be seen what we're going to see here. But I think we have a good idea. I took a crapshoot at it, a shot at it rather, at the old mock draft with my picks, and who knows if it goes that way or not. It's funny because I think it's, you put yourself out there, but I think realistically it's who are you. If you don't do well with it, it's like, oh, okay, well, you only had a couple days to research. But if you do well, it's like, oh, this guy's a genius, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I don't feel like it's a lose-lose situation like some say. I mean, I'm putting myself out there, sure, but it's all in good fun, really. I mean, so Kevin, I'm used to saying Chris, but Kevin, I want to promote your book. You just wrote an ebook, a eulogy for professional basketball in Idaho. While we have people watching, tell us a little more about it.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, so a eulogy for professional basketball dives into the history of the Idaho Stampede, and it really it starts with the last game in team history, because I was there with Santa Cruz. I booked my flights because I basically knew that this was going to be the end for the Stampede, and I wanted to be there. I knew this season ticket holder who was like their biggest fan ever, and so I asked him, "Can I watch the last game with you?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And so I weave in history with a recounting of the last game, which it's one of those end of the season D-League games that really mean nothing. Both teams are 19-30, and you're just playing out the string. But for like some really diehard fans, this was their last chance ever, most likely, to see their team. There was a little bit of uncertainty, but I think everyone knew by then that the Stampede were going to be done. So I just kind of go through that history and kind of try to give the sense of, is the team leaving? Is the team not during that last final game? Yeah. And obviously the team left.
Obviously they left, but I mean, you dive way back to the very beginning to Bill Eilett's days trying to bring a team into the CBA, and you talk about how he made a trip to Sioux Falls and possibly Omaha. And if he made that trip in a different order, it might not have happened. So I think there's a lot of great info here. I've read it. We've got links up at D-League Digest where you can find it, but tell them where they can find it, Kevin.
Yeah, so you can find it Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, and like a bunch of other lower profile distributors. No disrespect to the ones that have it up there, but like basically those, pretty much all the big ones. Like I said, Amazon, Apple, Barnes & Noble. I'd stress Amazon and Barnes & Noble because Apple iBooks has it at $7.99 for some reason, even though I told them $7. So if you wanna donate 99 more cents, get it on Apple iBooks. But the real price, the real deal Holyfield price is $7, not $7.99, and that's on every other distributor.
Well, there you go. You have it right there from Kevin, straight from the source.
And thanks for putting it online, man. I really appreciate that. The first chapter you can read on D-League Digest.
That's the least I can do. Yeah, get a preview of it at D-League Digest. You'll find it there. It's a great book if you like basketball history, and we sure know that the history of minor league basketball is changing with every passing year. So it's kind of a crux of the D-League as it expands. You kind of lose this well-found history, and we'll see what happens after this season because there sure are going to be some changes along the way.
We'll find out
yeah.
Sorry. I mean, but we'll find out the fate of the Erie Bayhawks in like a month or so, where they're going to be moving somewhere or not moving. Are they going to be staying? And is it just going to be a new complete team in Orlando? It'll be interesting to see how all this plays out.
There's a lot of moving parts. Obviously, the South, the original home of the D-League, is kind of rising once again, I should say. The South shall rise again. Basketball context, what I mean. Its roots, that's where it started. It's great to see it go back there. And that's where we are. So moving forward, you mentioned some names, Kevin. Obviously, consensus number one. Santa Cruz, our home base, number two. I put out there Chris Horton from Austin P. What are your thoughts on this pick? Because I kind of ruminate over this for a bit, and I thought, you know what? Travis Leslie's right there, and I think he's a solid hand. That's a guy they know, they're familiar with. I could see him going number two.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because traditionally in the D League, if you've had a look at a guy, you've had a look at a guy, and you're not going to get another look. And so I think I think Casey Hill loves Travis Leslie. I'd love Travis Leslie. He was a great dude, great guy off the court. Obviously did a lot for Santa Cruz on the court. But I just don't – I'd love to see it happen. I don't think it's going to happen because if you've had someone, you usually don't take another look at them, especially if they're 4 years older. So I would think they'd go in a different route. I read your article, Adam, the need for a quality big, which is certainly something Santa Cruz lacked at a lot of spots last year for one reason or another. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to find a big with that number two pick.
Definitely going to go that route with the big. Just a matter of who. I've heard names like Chris Horton. You got Jaleel Roberts in there. Siobhan Thompson, I think. Where he played escapes me. There's Adam Woodbury as well out of Iowa. A lot of big names, and I think you'll see a lot of them go. One of the sleepers you got to watch out for, Will Davis of UC Irvine. It's about him. You got to watch out for him. I think he's top 10 in this draft because you got to remember we stress bigs. But the D-League itself is an undersized league.
Yeah.
So if you can find a guy who's 6'8", 6'9", who can play back to the basket and can do those things, hit the glass, that's almost better than a 7-footer in some cases that might not have those abilities. So you've got to remember that as well. It's not always the biggest player, but some guys play above, beyond what you think they'd be capable of.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And it'll be interesting to see. I'm taking a look at your guy Chris Horton right now. A guy who played at Austin P Summer League with the Miami Heat. So that's a nice little notch on his resume. It's always interesting to see when these kind of low major D1 guys end up in the D League because there's a lot of them and how they turn out to play. You have a lot of not so success stories, and then you got your guys who actually can certainly play. Like I'm thinking of a guy like Denzel Livingston, who was at Incarnate Word, barely D1 school, and then he had a nice little year for himself with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers last year.
Villains, right? Because he coined that term.
Oh yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Rio Grande Valley Villains, with the purple emoji with the double horn.
That was great. I love that little playoff run that they had. They embraced the villain role.
Yeah, and
I guess.
And it might have should have been longer if you I don't know, the officiating at the end of Game 3 wasn't exactly in favor of Rio Grande Valley.
Man, that was an interesting call, but it's done. It's in the past.
Yeah.
It's weird how you juxtapose a single call against the whole game that was played. So I don't know if you can, blame a single call, but it certainly tipped the scales in Austin's favor at the very end.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that's the reason they lost. It was just.
Oh, sure.
I know the Vipers had to be frustrated with how that one played out down the stretch. That said, I don't remember the game all the way, but I want to say they had a huge lead in that game.
They did. I think they led by I think double digits with a couple minutes left, I believe. But again, this is the D-League draft. We'll see what happens, to say the least. Picks should be coming in at any moment. I'm trying to keep track of the draft board here. Basically, our draft board is essentially the D-League site updating as it chooses to go. So we'll see, and we'll be trying to keep you posted as those picks come in.
We got our first 2 picks, Adam.
First 2 picks. We're here, but we've got first 2 picks already.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not breaking news, I guess. We're not breaking news, sure. But the number 1 pick, as expected, Anthony Browns to the Erie Bayhawks. I wonder how long he's going to stay in Erie before he gets that call-up, because he is an NBA caliber player. If I was the Lakers, I would have kept him over some other people. That's another story. And then number 2, Jaleel Roberts to the Santa Cruz Warriors.
Jaleel Roberts. There we go.
Yeah.
That was the one that I had said would go as high as 5, talking to people around the league. Very interesting pick, to say the least. I don't know if that's it's big. It's just like we said, it's a big what they need. So they address that issue, and I know they have Chris Sarepka from St. John/UNLV in camp as well, 6'9", big, listed as an affiliate player. So they're trying to go big as well, because they've got Cam Jones coming back. As an affiliate player, Phil Pressey upgraded at point guard. Bigs are what they need. Bigs are what they need.
Yeah, this guy averaged 2.6 blocks per game last year or 2 years ago, I should say. His last collegiate year was 2014-15, according to Real GM. So, 7 points, 5 boards, 2.6 blocks his senior year, and 19 minutes of work. Yeah, welcome to the C-Dubs fan, Jaleel Roberts.
Well, we'll see if he goes or how he plays out in Santa Cruz. I know they need a big. Probably going to get him on the podcast sometime, hopefully. We'll see if that works out. That'd be great. Number three is, I got to put this up right here on my board. Who was the number 3? Oklahoma City. What do they need? What do they need, Kevin?
Well, apparently they need Alex Hamilton of Louisiana Tech, because I just refreshed my browser.
So they're going Alex Hamilton.
Yeah, they're going Alex Hamilton.
Wow, that's great. I don't know if I had him in my first round mock draft. I'm not even sure if I had him there. So we'll see.
I'm looking through it. Yeah, you don't, but you had Roberts as the top 5. Didn't last year you had like the first 4 or 5 picks correct, or am I misremembering that?
I had the first 4 picks right, but those were all NBA players, so I'm not gonna. Yeah, I think it was a little more easier to prognosticate. Take credit at that point, but yes, I did have the first 4. I don't remember what happened after that. That was just I had the first 4 right. So, but I'll take credit when I can get it.
Nice. Yeah, this guy Alex Hamilton played in summer league with the Clippers, and 4 years at Louisiana Tech, just finished up there. So, steals a game last year, about 20 points a game. So, there it is. He's according to Ridiculous Upside, he was Dakota Schmidt's number 7 prospect.
Well, there we go. Shout out to Dakota and Ridiculous Upside.
Yep.
Number 4, Fort Wayne Mammoths. So we don't
Yeah.
have, speaking of four-way man ants, because Brian Levy is the GM and was in Bakersfield when Archie Goodwin played there. There's no Archie Goodwin in this draft. Goodwin to be a player, which is kind of surprising. I don't know if he's holding out. What cleared waivers in the NBA. I'm not sure why we don't see him in the D League.
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading that Sporting News article on him at the 2015 showcase. Didn't exactly sound like he was thrilled to play in the D League. My guess is he's holding out. He's definitely an NBA level player, and we do have the number 4 pick in, and it's someone that Brian is very familiar with. Drum roll. It's Travis Leslie.
Travis Leslie with the number 4 pick.
Yeah,
that's a solid hand. What can you say? Because they got
that is
got Ben Bentel right at the deadline too. That's a Brian Levy special. Just like last year when he snuck in Taryn Penway at the last minute too.
I mean, Brian definitely knows what he's doing, and he's very familiar with him. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I didn't take it as all that way. But yeah, I mean, he has familiarity with him when he was an assignment player with the Bakersfield Jam in the 2011-12 season. So yeah, these guys go back a little bit.
So number 5, Grand Rapids, number 5 pick. They made headlines already in the D League with the trade of Jordan Crawford going back to his hometown, or playing for the Detroit affiliate. I'm curious to see what he does. We've got a crop of returning players this year, Kevin. I think maybe better than others. I think that's where you see the depth is in the returning players this year.
For sure. And Grand Rapids just made its selection too. Your boy Chris Horton.
All right. So I might have been out of order a little bit. Maybe flip-flop the 2 and 5 picks. So maybe I know some of what I'm doing. Maybe I don't know.
No, I mean you've got 4. You've got 4 of the top 5, right? Or hold on. Yeah, you've got 4 of the top 5. That's all you can ask out of a D League draft prognosticator.
I'm just saying. I don't want to take credit, but hey, yes, right. I'm just pumped that the D League season's here.
Likewise, man. No doubt.
Number 6 goes back to the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. They went guard with their first pick. You expect them to go big. Maybe we see Will Davis here.
Yeah, that could definitely be the pick there. So yeah, Will Davis still on the draft board. You had him as a top 5 prospect. Looking at Dakota's. Oh, Dakota does not have him in the top 50.
Wow.
So
everybody's different. Every process is different. So who knows?
Yeah. Be interesting to see.
I definitely think there's a couple of guys I want to see get selected just for my own, personal benefit. I want to see him thrive in the D League. Roosevelt Jones, who I interviewed, obviously, I think he'd be a late first rounder.
Yeah,
he is a D League player, and I don't mean that as disrespect. He is a prototypical D League guy. He flourished in the D League.
He is like kind of a bulldog forward. I love his energy. I watched him a lot at Butler, especially at the beginning of his career when I was watching college basketball more than I do now. Yeah, I love Roosevelt Jones. Yeah, I think he's going to do some good work in the D League.
Got Roosevelt Jones. Another one, Ali Ahmed, who played for CSU Bakersfield, I believe. He's a big 6'9". On the NCAA draft, I think. Whoa, 6th pick is in, folks. Dallas Lauderdale.
Hey-o.
Right there, Dallas Lauderdale. He's former of the Idaho Stampede.
Yeah, Brian going with Brian Levy going with some guys that he's very familiar with.
He's going old school, in fact, kind of. He's going throwback.
Yeah, I like these picks because, I mean, no disrespect to Travis Leslie, but he's probably not on the forefront of NBA GM minds for a call-up. So he's going to be there at least for a couple of months, I'd imagine, before he works his name back up again. And Dallas Lauderdale's a guy who is, 8.7 rebounds, a block or so, very, very productive at his position with the Stampede in the 13-14 season. And these are guys who are more grown men than guys just coming out of college. I really like these 2 picks.
And in a way, it works for them. Like you said, he's familiar with them. He knows what to expect from them. He knows the kind of players they are. There's a bit of a calculated risk when you're taking a guy you don't know so much about. So he's taking the sure bet with these guys, which is not a bad thing at all. He knows what he's going to get from these guys. Dallas Lauderdale, a big old brute, 6'7", I believe, 6'8", a physical specimen, to say the least. He's going to bump bodies, and he's going to not dominate in the paint, but he's just going to be a force to be reckoned with, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. He missed the 2012-13 season with a foot injury, so he was in the D League for a couple of years, but only played one of them, I want to say. But yeah, the people in Boise loved Dallas Lauderdale, so I think that speaks good for him.
When I first started covering the D League, 2013-14, wow, that's a while ago. I feel old. He was one of my first favorite players to watch. And the 7th pick is in. Brandon Green out of Kansas goes to the Delaware 87ers.
Hey, Delaware has a nice roster.
Delaware is kind of slipping under the radar here.
Yeah, I like Brandon Green. Shooter, he could fill it up. He's the kind of guy who could either score, go 2 for 15 in a D League game or 12 for 15. And I think he's going to have a lot of games where he can do some serious damage.
I think so, too. It's kind of remains to be seen. I know there were some on-the-court issues with him and Bill Self in Kansas about what his role was going to be and what expectations were. But this could be, the path back to the NBA, or possibly as a role player, kind of redemption, change your outward perception, I suppose. And you can do that in Delaware. I'm curious to see what his role will be with Eugene Burroughs, the new head coach in Delaware. That team is historically hasn't done too well over the last couple seasons. 3 seasons. I don't think they haven't made the playoffs once yet, but it will be interesting to see. Michael Bryson, 8th pick for the Northern Arizona Suns out of UC Santa Barbara.
Okay, good. Go Gauchos. One quick thing on Delaware. I love their training camp roster. I mean, now you add Brandon Green to it, but Cat Barber is a guy who I think could torch the D League. David Laurie is my just D League crush as far as guys I love to watch play. Sean Long and James Webb III are built to be big-time contributors in the D League. You got Brandon Trish from Syracuse, Davon Usher and Jay Harris, a couple of guys who showed some things in the D League in the past, and my boy Roberto Nelson. This guy can score. I really love Roberto Nelson from his days at Oregon State. So I think this roster, at least at the beginning of the season, is pretty talented.
Yes, I think on paper, it's always on paper, obviously. You never know what it's going to be like on the court.
Yeah.
Teams, you'd have to imagine.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Just looking at it.
Yeah, on paper, because I remember last year I thought the Grand Rapids Drive had the best roster in the D League, and well, that didn't work out super well for them.
Did not. They had really talented roster. In fact, in Grand Rapids, it just couldn't come together. The Texas Legends. I got this one right. Select Keith Hornsby with the number 9 overall pick.
Nice.
Listen, this is not a prediction at all. It's because Keith Hornsby was in camp with the Dallas Mavericks. So it makes sense they would take him. They didn't have enough affiliate slots to take him as a training camp invite. So I think they didn't select him, and now they're taking him on completely. So that was just my thought process on that. I figured they would go ahead and do that. It's interesting to see that they got their man. That's who they wanted. They obviously targeted him for Mavs training camp, and they got him in Texas. Is loaded with Bob McKinnon at the helm.
Yeah,
Bob McKinnon is going. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say they've never had a winning season. They've only made the playoffs once their first season. I think all that's going to change this year. Bob McKinnon is one of the best coaches in D League history. He did, he won the title with the Colorado 14ers, did a great job with the LA Defenders, had that 500 season with the Idaho Stampede, and took the Springfield Armor to the playoffs as well. So he was successful basically everywhere he went. Kind of a wash here at Idaho, but this guy knows what he's doing. He knows the D-League better than just about anyone.
Knows it better than anyone. It's very easy to see why he could be successful. They got Manny Harris, Courtney Fells, Andre Dawkins. There's a couple other names that are just escaping me at the moment. CJ Williams. I mean, they've got score. They almost have too many scores. This is kind of the problem we talked about last year with the LA Defenders and Casey Owens. He almost has too much talent there, I feel like. And it's going to be interesting to see how he distributes the ball. So I think you might have to see a player or two go, or maybe you see a trades after the fact. We'll see. Yeah. But on paper, they're another team to watch out for.
I think you mentioned Courtney Fells, and I think there's an argument to be made in the 2013-14 season that Courtney Fells was a better player for the Austin Toros. They were the Toros back then, if I have my years correct. He was a better player than Jonathan Simmons that year. And I think Courtney Fells is a beast.
He averaged over 18 points. 10th overall pick is in. The Santa Cruz Warriors, our home base, select LaDante Hinton.
Nice.
From Providence.
This guy he played Summer League. Sorry to cut you off. I think there's like a second lag between us. So I'm not just being rude. I'm trying to figure out when you've stopped speaking and when real time is caught up. But LaDante Hinton played Summer League with Golden State July 2015. And he had one pretty good game, and he almost hit a game winner in another. I liked this guy for the D-League back then. I obviously didn't watch him last year, but because he wasn't in the D-League. But I think LaDante Hinton's a pretty good ball player.
I think so too. I think he was a little bit lower in my draft. I think I had him 18th or so in the first round, but another first-round pick. I slotted him somewhere in the first round. So hey, go D-League Digest, I guess, in that respect. They can't all be winners, but I think I have an idea of what I'm doing. I just want to commend the teams for going through 182 names in a matter of a few days. I know they divvy up the work between them. Certainly, it's a little bit easier this year with only 182 names, opposed to 290 from last year. But definitely commend them for what they do. And I dabbled in a little bit, and I don't have the resources like these teams do. But through it one by one is just it's a task. It's a task, and you've got to stay focused. And you're just looking at why some of these names I'm not going to mention obviously, but it's like, why are they? There's nothing you can find on some of these guys online, and we're using some of those same resources of these teams. And if there's nothing on these in this pool.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm just looking at what LaDante Hinton did last year. So he played for the Alaska Aces 12 games of the Filipino Basketball Association, averaged 31 and change, and also played in ACB. So, he was playing high-level Europe for a little while there.
Well, that's if you're high level, you got to be doing something right then. So we're up to the 11th pick, I think, is owned by the Greensboro Swarm, if I'm not mistaken.
Iowa Energy, according to dleague.com.
Clearly, I can't know what I'm talking about.
We got
Iowa Energy.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We have our next two picks in. Iowa Energy select Aaron Thomas out of Florida State, and the Windy City Bulls, Quentin Chivas out of Hamilton.
Quentin Chivas, that was not a name on my list. So interesting pick there, to say the least. We're moving right along with this. I got to say, this draft's moving faster than previous years. Maybe we've got our act together this year. I don't know.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a 2-minute clock, or at least it used to be. I sort of sat in on one draft in 2012.
Got it.
So yeah, maybe they're sticking to it a little better.
Hopefully. While we deviate here from these picks, got some rule changes this year, Kevin. We got the reset timeout rule, and also the shot clock. I think this is the bigger one, actually. The shot clock will reset to 14 as opposed to 24 on offensive rebounds. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that, because usually when you're getting an offensive rebound, you're not seeing that shot clock go past 14 seconds because it's more of like a, you're putting it back up and in, trying to tip it back up. I'm intrigued by it. Might as well try it out in the D League. It might take a little getting used to. And yeah, the reset timeout, I mean, it's more or less the advanced rule, right?
It's sort of the advanced rule. So they're not calling it the advanced rule anymore. It's a reset timeout. Basically, you can call it any time in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Basically, it can be during the ball or possession. Anytime you can call basically a reset timeout to take the ball out of bounds and reset, essentially. But you can't huddle up.
Yeah.
So it's sort of an extension of it where you don't have to just advance it. You can do it in the backcourt, the front court, anytime in position that you want, essentially.
Okay, so we could see teams. I mean, if teams started to get pressed or whatever, they're up one trying to hold on to the ball, they could call that reset timeout. Instead of taking it out in the backcourt, they could take it out in the front court and eliminate like one spot to be pressed in or something.
Right, which essentially makes it the advanced rule in that case. This just sort of expands on it. I think as far as the shot clock rule goes, I think that'll work better for end game situations. You'll have a couple extra possessions at the end of a close game. That's where you could see it end up working out in the end. So you don't have a team holding out a shot clock for 24 seconds. It's going to definitely change defensive schemes at the end of games. See the impact.
Yeah. Let's see.
Where are we at on this draft?
Well, yeah, I'm just refreshing right now. We still have. Well, hold on. All right, so the D League website had Iowa number 11, then Windy City number 12, Greensboro 13. Now it says the 12th overall pick was Sean Miller of the Greensboro Swarm out of UConn, and Windy City took Quentin Chivas 13th overall.
Oh, really? So they have it backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to look into that.
So I don't know who actually, because on your mock draft you have Windy City going 12 and Greensboro 13th, and I think that unless there was some trade where Greensboro just had to have Sean Miller at 12. Instead of picking him 13. I don't think
so. I think it's 12.
Maybe Sean Miller has trisdecaphobia. Who knows?
We're not having teams on social media calling out picks out of order. For the most part, I think it's been completely in order this year.
Yeah. So either way, Sean Miller's a mid-first round D-League draft pick out of UConn. To the Swarm.
Wow. All right. Oh, we might have a trade though. Breaking news. Ooh. Breaking news on this stream. Nice. It appears Quentin Chivas might be heading to Iowa.
Okay.
So you heard it here first, folks. You heard it here. Yeah. The phone's a buzzing. So
nice.
Quentin Chivas might be heading to Iowa.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see. That just literally came across the phone off the D League. So you heard it here first, folks. Make sure to source your local. Make sure to source me. Yeah.
Because Adam Johnson's breaking news over here, like his name's Adrian Wojnarowski and Sham Sharania.
Oh man, listen. When I from you here. You recorded a new intro for our podcast. For those who don't know, Kevin is the mastermind behind our podcast intro, obviously, for those who have listened to it. Kevin has recorded a brand new intro for us. We're going to use in the next episode. I think I've peaked. Once I play that, I've peaked, though. And I don't think I can continue broadcasting. That's the worry that I have. Is I'm just going to say, okay, good night. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I got into doing that one for sure. I didn't have much of a plan. Then I sat down. I'm like, all right, yeah, this is what it's going to be. Yeah, I'm happy with the way it came out. So, The audio
Okay,
clips
so here's the
but it's because
no.
my real recorder got ganked in Santa Cruz after a game last year when I left my backpack in my backseat. Anyways,
So to clarify on my previous report, it looks like the D-League website might be incorrect. Quentin Chivas looks like he's actually going to go to Iowa via draft. So that's actually, I think, a draft selection.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Quentin Chivas went 11th.
That now Iowa should be going Quentin Chivas.
Yep.
If that's accurate now on the board, I'm not sure. I'm trying to reload and refresh and just.
It is. And Aaron
Quentin
Thomas,
Chivas,
12th to Windy City. Sean Miller, 13th to Greensboro. And 14th.
Okay, so
your boy Boris Dallo.
Boris Dallo. My boy Boris Dallo. The Frenchman. Played a little overseas and then France. I think it was the B League or A Serie A. I can't remember the name, how you call him. Young prospect. Well scouted just a few years ago. Kind of, I don't want to say fizzled out, but just wasn't highly recruited thereafter. But he's an interesting prospect as well. He goes 14th. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with him. On the international side, I've talked around, we see some international guys come through and they don't do too well. And what, we don't see a lot of the international players succeed. And part of it is, when I talk around the league, there's a stigma to the international guys, number one. And number two, you don't see teams want to take a risk on an international guy because, they're sacrificing salary for exposure. And some feel it's unfair to them unless they're starting immediately to bring them over here and not provide that exposure to them. So you might see that some teams hesitant to select overseas or international players because of that reason.
Yeah, I remember we, as in Santa Cruz, I can say we, I'm a team employee. We took Milos Milosavljevic in the 2014 draft, and he was just starting to turn the corner as he tore his ACL. But that guy had a lot of talent, but the stats weren't exactly there. But if he had stayed healthy, I think those stats would have turned around. But yeah, it's an interesting insight into these guys that come to the D League.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least. Also, a guy I'd like to watch. He's not being drafted today. Just want to give him a quick shout out. Antoine Mason. He'll be playing for the RGV Vipers. He'll be in training camp with them. I had a chance to interview him. He's the son of Anthony Mason. And talk about him, about his journey through the professional ranks, what it means to follow his own dream to the NBA, and what it's like to have Anthony Mason as a father. So if you have a chance, go to D-League Digest and check that out. For those who are just joining us, this is Kevin Danna of the Santa Cruz Warriors. Real quick, Kevin, why don't you give a quick shout out for your book? Professional Basketball in Idaho.
Yeah,
those who are joining us.
Please check it out. It's a history of the Idaho Stampede. So Salt Lake City Stars fans, Utah Jazz fans, want a little history on your new D-League team, check out A Eulogy for Professional Basketball in Idaho. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, and other smaller distributors. Again, a eulogy for professional basketball in Idaho. You can search my name on any of those websites, Kevin Danna. Thank you.
Definitely. So thank you, Kevin. Moving along here, I think we're up to the 17th pick. So we've had a few, just bang them out right now. But with the 16th pick, Max Hooper, three-point man extraordinaire, goes to the Westchester Knicks.
Yeah, he never shot a 2 in college, right? Or his last season at least?
I think his last season, he had shot nothing but three-pointers.
And that's the kind of guy that's made for the D-League. I'm very interested to see how Max Hooper's D-League career plays out.
He came in a year too late with the system. I would have loved to have seen him play under David Arsenault's system in Reno. That would have been tremendous.
That would have been fantastic.
Side by side. He'll be back with the Raptors 905. So that'll be great to see him up there in the Great White North.
Yep. I'm looking forward to I'm gonna try to make it out to Mississauga this year for the showcase. So I'm looking forward to checking out.
I don't know if it's going to happen on and we'll see. But I'd certainly like to make it there as well. But D-League has officially announced it's in Mississauga. I think that's just been heavily implied or reported. I know Scott Howard Cooper of NBA.com reported it, but I don't think they've actually released a schedule.
Yeah, they haven't released a schedule.
Austin Spurs, 18th pick, Maurice Bolden.
Okay.
That's a steal right there. Guy who played, I think, in Canada last year, averaged a near double-double in college in Southern Miss. 6'10", big guy. This is another big. Look, they're all going to take bigs, right? If I'm missing this, I think my guy, Will Davis, is still on the board here.
Yeah, he is.
Will Davis still on the board. We got Roosevelt Jones still out there as well. That's another quality guy to watch out for, too. A lot of good names here as we head in, almost turning the corner. We're going to wrap this stream up after the first round. It's going to be interesting to say the least, though.
Yeah, we still have Rashad McCants out there.
Shannon Brown.
Yeah, Shannon Brown. Be interesting. I mean, Ricky Davis, I think, went in the 6th round 3 or 4 years ago. So it'd be interesting to see where those guys go.
Yep. Interesting to see if those guys get taken or where they get taken. Yeah, I could see a team maybe taking a chance in the 4th or 5th round. I mean, teams, again, this is six rounds in total. The first 4 are required. So I could see someone taking a flyer on them in the last few rounds when the talent is not as top-notch or elite to the first few rounds. I guess at that point, why not? You can see what he does. And if, there's less risk, obviously, involved at that point.
Yep.
So we are at, I believe, the 19th pick as we wait on. I think it's the Canton Charge have the 19th pick. Jones.
Yes, sir.
So let's see here. We have, just to recap this first round as we come to a close. I wish my computer would load properly. Anthony Brown, number 1 to Erie. To Santa Cruz, number 3, Oklahoma City Blue, Alex Hamilton, number 4, Travis Leslie to Fort Wayne. Grand Rapids, the 5th pick, select Chris Horton. Dallas Lauderdale, that's a deep cut, goes to Fort Wayne, 6th overall pick. Brandon Green out of Kansas goes to 7th, Delaware. 8th pick, Northern Arizona, Michael Bryson. The Texas Legends select Keith Hornsby out of LSU. The 10th pick, Santa Cruz Warriors select LaDante Henton out of Providence. The 11th pick, this still says Quentin Chivas. It is corrected now. Quentin Chivas out of Hamilton. They finally got that right. Goes to Iowa. 12th pick, Windy City, Aaron Thomas out of Florida State. 13th pick, Greensboro, Sean Miller, Connecticut. 14th pick, Long Island, Boris Dallow out of France. 15th pick, Jalen Bland. That's another first-round pick I had in there. UC Riverside. 16th pick, Westchester, Max Hooper out of Oakland. 17th pick, Real RGV, TJ Price, Kentucky. Roosevelt Jones, the 19th pick, goes to the Canton Charge.
Yep.
Talk about prognostications. Talk about them.
Wait, hold on. I'm checking your. Wow.
Sure
hey, anytime you can get the number 19 pick in the D-League draft spot on, you should be paid to cover the D-League.
Hey. I'll take that one. I think there's a lot of great names here so far, but 19th, I just felt like he fit well with Canton. It's Canton's notorious for not an up-tempo style. They're a grit and grind sort of team. They're slow in pace, which benefits a guy like Roosevelt Jones. Plays in the half court, is able to be physical in that respect. I don't think he'd benefit in an up-tempo style, to say the least, given his physicality. But I think, like I said, in the half court that they play in Canada or in Cleveland, rather, benefits him extremely. So I think he was just a perfect fit for a team like this. So Roosevelt Jones, 19th to the Canton Charge. 20th, Maine is on the clock. So we'll see where they go.
They are off the clock. Adam Woodbury.
They're off the clock. Adam Woodbury, another first-round pick I had prognostic. I think I had him as 11th going to Iowa. He's out of Iowa, so I put that connection there. He will go. He's a 7-footer. Very interesting pick as well. They go big or go home, I guess. So we'll see. 21st pick, I believe, goes to the RGV Vipers. So we'll see where they pick as well. And then finally rounding out 22nd pick will be the Sioux Falls Sky Force.
Hey, Adam, you made a mistake when you're talking about the first round. You said the RGV Vipers with the 21st pick. We all know it's the RGV Villains. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, the Villains. Forgive me. That should be trademarked, by the way. I don't know why they don't print that on shirts. I think that would sell very well.
I mean, it would sell to like 8 people, like you, me, Dennis Silva, Chris Reichert, Dakota.
Chris Reichert.
Like anyone who was in on the Twitter joke would get in. Rebecca Sweat, I think, would get it. Former RGV Vipers PR director. Like the people who have it when they see each other both wearing the shirt, like they probably make a bond for life. Be one of those things. That's why you should have it.
Yes, indeed. 2 more picks left in this first round before we wrap it up. Any surprises here? I don't think there's anything that's necessarily a reach, but any names that stick out for you? What are the surprises that you take so far from this process?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say, oh, this guy should have been picked here, this guy should have been picked there. These teams essentially have 48, 72 hours to prepare for this thing. I mean, you have an idea who's in the draft, but because now you submit 8 guys or something like that each team. But I like the Roosevelt Jones pick. I like the familiarity Santa Cruz has with Dante Henton and getting a big guy, a 7-footer with number 2. And I like what Fort Wayne did, getting some tested D-League experienced guys in Leslie and Lauderdale. And we do have a 21 in Amin Tanksley out of Hofstra.
That's the name. That's the name, Hofstra. Okay, well, we'll see. We'll learn a little bit more about him. And Sioux Falls, finally, the defending, reigning champions. 22nd overall pick. New head coach, Nevada Smith. Back at it again, I guess, in the D-League. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Former RGV Viper head coach. Got big shoes to fill with. Dan Craig essentially, coming in for 1 year, kicking the door down, breaking D-League records, drops the mic and leaves. So interesting to see what Nevada can do. I mean,
they've had a nice little pipeline these last 3 years. Sioux Falls head coaches, 1 year as a head coach with Sioux Falls, next year on NBA bench. So hopefully the same rings true for Nevada Smith. And I think what he did in the second year was a lot better than what he did in the first year with RGV. Like his first RGV team was loaded. And his second team did not have nearly the level of talent, and they almost went to the playoffs. They still won like 28 games or 27 games, and I thought arguably that was a much better job that he did.
Okay, and with the 22nd pick, the Sioux Falls Skyforce select Ike Nwamu at a UNLV. So there you have it.
There it is.
There's the first round. It's exciting. Like we said, a couple themes here. We've got Fort Wayne going with what they know. Bigs galore in this first round as expected. The only stretch I'd say would be maybe Boris Dallow as 14th, the Long Island Nets. But other than that, I mean, everything looks pretty solid here as picks. I mean, again, no Rashad McCants, no Shannon Brown. Those guys aren't taken. No Salim Stoudemire. You're not seeing those guys just because they have NBA credentials that they automatically get swept up. Those are the themes to take away. I think, again, I know I've talked about him, gushed about him way too much. Roosevelt Jones at 19, I think, is a steal for any team.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the second round, Adam, and the Bayhawks have 4 picks in the second round, all in the 15 of the second round. So it'd be interesting if a lot of those guys get traded or whatnot. But 4 picks in the second round.
Yeah. I think I saw team president Matt Bressi, not to be confused with RGV Vipers head coach Matt Braze, say that they have the first 5 of the 37 picks in the draft. So that's they can get loaded up pretty quickly too. And I think Bill Peterson, while the team hasn't turned around that much in his first 2 years there, I think they have a chance here to really do some special things. They've got Cliff Alexander, who was signed as an affiliate player. He had spent some time in Santa Cruz. Seems like they'd have a little more rounded out depth, whereas previous years you had one or two guys like Peyton Siva or Seth Curry, maybe Melvin Edgem last year and Keith Appling. It seems like this year you've got a more rounded out roster in Erie, so you could maybe see them do some things too, hopefully.
Yeah, and they just took Marcus Kennedy. Bonus coverage on the D-League Dialogue.
Free coverage.
Yeah. Marcus Kennedy out of the SMU, first pick of the second round, 23rd overall to the Hawks.
All right, had him in my first round prognostication, so hopefully not too far off. Going to wrap this up real quick. I want to thank Kevin Danna for coming on. I'm Adam Johnson. Kevin, where can people follow you on Twitter? Find anything else you want to plug before we wrap this up?
Yeah, at Kevo408 on Twitter. I believe I've gotten like 3 or 4 followers today just out of doing this draft. So thanks for having me on, Adam. And again, professional basketball in Idaho. I've sold 12 copies. Make it 13. I want to sell more than 12. So, a eulogy for professional basketball on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, and everywhere else that sells online, or mostly everywhere else.
And only $7. You can't beat that price. You're not breaking the bank. How about a guy like Kevin who put a ton of research into this book? Make it happen. As we depart, I want to thank Kevin Danna once again for coming on. You can follow us at D-League Digest. We also have the podcast at D-League Dialogue Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, everywhere else in between. We're on Podbean as well. Search D-League Dialogue. We've got great interviews on there with head coaches. So check out our archives. Bob McKinnon's been on. Rex Walters has been on, head coach of the Grand River Drive. Ty Ellis, the Arizona Suns, has been on. We've had Willie Reed on. Jarrell Eddy's been on as well. So we've had some quality guests on. I'm sure we'll have some more. Jarnell Stokes. Jarnell Stokes, D-League MVP, has been on as well. So we've got some quality guests on there as well. Head coaches will probably continue on in the season. If you have any questions for us, you can email us at dleaguedigest@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at dleaguedigest. Thanks again, guys, for watching. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. Thanks. See you later.
Peace.